One game that I covered pretty extensively leading up to their launch was Arena Breakout Infinite, the mobile Tarkov extraction shooter that rebuilt their game for PC and released at the end of the summer of last year to scathing reviews from the outside community, mainly in part due to their monetization strategy, myself included in that. But one thing that I think most people agreed with is the fact that the game is actually pretty solid, with a lot of streamlined features that some people might call more casual, but for me, I actually really enjoyed. When the monetization dropped, I covered the situation and gave my thoughts in a video called Arena Breakout Infinite is pay-to-win slop, which is about 80% true as of today. You can still purchase Coin with real money and then use that in-game Coin currency to purchase gear in-game. There are still subscription costs for your secure loot container, but they did backpedal last year and gave everyone a small secure container when they went to Season 1. It's kind of like peeling the shit off of a shit sandwich. The bread still tastes weird, but you can at least get it down. There's also a huge problem with their event ticket cosmetic bundles, where it basically boiled down to a loot box that costs you an arm and a leg to get anything good from. Now, what I can say is that for all of the problems the game has with their external systems, the game itself is fucking awesome. To me, it's a Tarkov-like FPS with what some would call casualized features like an in-game map, mission trackers, and nameplates over your teammates' heads. The game features things like kill cams and spectators, so if you die and your teammates are still in raid, it doesn't feel as punishing because you can at least sit there and watch the rest of the game play out. It's one of the main reasons why I think a lot of people are gravitating towards games like Delta Force with their operations mode, because even though it's a more casualized experience, it still feels really good to play. There's a level of polish in these games that I would say 99% of games that I cover on my channel will just never hit. And so ever since I dropped my video talking about the monetization of the game, I've been a bit sad because the game is right up my alley. And ever since the Season 1 update, there's been an issue with my launcher where I wasn't able to actually start the game, so it kind of fell out of it. We got into the holiday season, but now that we're going into the new year, and I'll be honest, there's not a lot of shooters to look forward to in 2025, I'm looking for a set of games that I can really just sink my teeth into, and Arena Breakout Infinite is going to be one of those games. I've been streaming it for the last few days, and I've been learning a lot about the game, the mechanics, the maps, while avoiding spending money on bullshit like in-game currency. And I gotta say, I'm doing pretty well, which is, I think, the main point of the people who are okay with the pay-to-win mechanics. I'm never gonna back down and say that it's okay. I'm going to hold their feet to the fire every chance I can possibly get. Because like a lot of people are pointing out, there are so many ways to earn in-game currency. There's challenges, there's events. You have your baseline missions, you have seasonal missions, you have weekly missions. All of those give you currency. And literally just been playing the game for the last few days, I've earned a shit ton of Coin, which I actually think proves my point in saying that I don't think Coin being purchasable for real money is worth it. The option is there to spend money, which I actually think is hurting the game more than anything else because you don't need it at all. So if most people are playing the game and not spending real money on in-game currency, why even offer it at all? All it's doing is hurting the game in the public eye. So when you do come to Steam, there's going to be so many people downloading it, review bombing it because it has pay-to-win mechanics when you don't actually fucking need them at all in game. So going into 2025, I really want to talk more about Arena Breakout Infinite and what I think they need to do in 2025 to really bring people on board. I know there's going to be a lot of people that play Tarkov and they're just not, they don't even give a fuck. The game's just wish Tarkov. Fuck all that noise. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the mechanics. Let's talk about their monetization. Let's talk about the 2025 roadmap that they just put out on their YouTube channel a few days ago. And let's talk about the future. The 2025 roadmap is a video that was posted on the Arena Breakout YouTube channel, and it's 9 minutes of the developers talking about what's coming, new modes, new monetization, new maps, and more. And after watching this video, I am a lot more confident in the future of the game. I'm a lot more confident in the developers' ability to actually listen to their community. And no, it's not because this guy is holding a "we hear you" sign at the very beginning of the video. If that was actually the case, you would remove purchasing Coin for real money. But this video starts off on a really high note. They basically say, hey, we're listening to you guys. We know you want a solo mode. We know that you're waiting for more content. And we know that the current monetization strategy feels fragmented. Oh yeah, and also those thermals that are so overpowered that it basically makes playing the game useless when you're coming up against players with them. Yeah, we're nerfing them. They're also introducing several new game modes, and you can see at the top here, it looks like this is a 4v4, potentially one life game mode. So like Tarkov Arena, but done in 6 months. That's crazy. But one of the modes they wanted to bring was a more casualized, relaxing way to experience the game where you won't lose your gear even if you die during the raid. So we have the more hardcore extraction style where you're losing. I think that's really just the way to play these kind of games. But they have Secure Ops, which is a new game mode where you won't lose your gear if you die during the raid, which in my opinion, I think is a good way to learn maps like TV Station. You can jump in, you don't have to worry about the risk of the gear. You can walk around the maps, you can fight, you can get into all of those engagements, but there's really no risk involved. Now, I do think the risk is like, that's why you play these kind of games. But I do think this is a good way to get your feet wet with new content, learn the ropes, learn the maps, learn the paths without getting your shit kicked in. And then, yeah, they say they're bringing modes like elimination and team deathmatch, but with their own unique twist. Personally, for me, I would love to see a 4v4 search and destroy mode. And in the next update, they're going to be rolling out the solo mode as an experimental feature to see how people enjoy the mode, to see how many people are playing it. Does it fragment the player base? So right now they're just experimenting to see what the community thinks, which I think is pretty cool. We also have a new map coming to the game called Northridge. There's forests, there's waterfalls, a more open kind of foresty environment. But then you can head to the Northridge Hotel, which is like the center of the map. That's where all the loot is really going to be. That's where all of the high stakes combat is going to take place. Now, the one thing this roadmap doesn't talk about is dates for any of this stuff. Like they said, the solo mode's coming in the next update, and then they say Northridge is going to be added. We don't know if that's going to be the next update. This is more of just like, hey, this is what's coming this year. There's a bunch of new story content coming with new bosses and lore for the players who do like this kind of stuff. And then they're bringing in a bunch of new weapons, equipment, and attachments. And then the video switches gears to gameplay improvements. And one of the things that they kind of brush over at the beginning, scopes are all now restricted when you're hiding in bushes. So they're trying to combat rat behavior, people hiding in bushes, scoping from a distance, and just taking you out without you even seeing them. And they kind of show the video here, you can't ADS while you're in this bush kind of hazard volume box. I'm really not sure how I feel about this. Like, I know it's going to combat a lot of frustrating encounters, but I also feel like that's just par for the course when it comes to games like this. I'm open to seeing how it feels, and I myself, I'm not a huge rat player. I like to move around and get into engagements, but I'm curious to see how the community is going to react to something like this. The big worry for me is while this part of the video is playing, the translated English captions say that one of our key priorities is reducing the pressure players feel during matches, which at first when I saw that, I was like, well, isn't that the whole point of playing a high stakes extraction shooter? But what they're talking about is optimizing both the spawn points and the extraction points, as well as adjusting the player counts per match so that the experience isn't just you spawning, looking around, noticing that there's 3 teams surrounding you and there's really nothing you can do. That's a great fucking change. Every time we load into farm, we get the spawn where we're close to the grain elevators and it's like, okay, we know there's a team to the right. We know there's a team in front of us. Like, we're going to get into combat in the first 15 to 20 seconds of this raid. Here we go. Some people like that stuff. I like to tickle the balls a little bit, get my footing, take a breath before we get right into the shit. And the fourth point is addressing their sound accuracy. They want to address unpredictable combat hotspots and enhance that sound accuracy. In my experience playing Farm and Valley, I haven't really noticed a lot of problems with the sound accuracy at all. Like, I can pinpoint when players are to my left, when they're to my right. I haven't had a lot of issue there, but I'm guessing when you get into things like TV Station, which I've only played a few times now, I'm guessing when there's, guys above you, guys below you, and we get into that more vertical kind of gameplay, I'm sure there's a lot more problems with kind of pinpointing where guys are. And I think one of the biggest changes coming to the game, which is something that I'm not even a high enough level to experience, I did get to try it out during the season 1 like pre-event that they had where they invited a bunch of content creators, gave us a shit ton of gear, and we got to go in and just go ham. I got to try the thermals and holy fucking shit, they are insane. So now they're nerfing the thermals by removing the ability to see through scope. So you can see on screen here, if you scope in while rocking thermals, you ain't seeing shit. I think there's some people that are going to be upset by this change, but I think for the majority, this is a welcomed change to the gameplay loop. It might not be realistic, but when you look over the fence at a game like Delta Force that are currently implementing thermals in their next season, and a lot of players are bitching over there because you can just drop smokes on yourself and then shoot people through the smoke, there has to be a balance between realistic for the sake of realism and also realize you're playing a fucking video game. And there has to be gives and takes, checks and balances to make sure no item is completely overpowered and basically makes it useless to go against. And then we get into them wanting to combat toxic behavior, where basically they want to add in a griefing penalty for players who are throwing grenades and damaging their teammates and just team killing when you spawn in. Because if you spawn in as a solo player, you can choose to just fill your squad and then you can kind of just team kill them. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So they're currently discussing internally about how they want to handle those kind of things. Honestly, fuck griefers, but I also understand, like, gamers are gonna game. They're gonna figure out how to grief players. This isn't really interesting to me. What is interesting is they're bringing a feature that you see in Delta Force right now, which is the auto-rotating items, auto-stashing high-value loot into your cases. So again, more quality of life improvements, which is why I just completely fuck with this game. And one thing that gets skipped by and not really shown on screen is the fact that they're reducing movement inertia to make controls feel more responsive. I'm curious to see how that's going to feel. I don't want this turning into a complete arcade experience, so we'll see what happens there. And then we get to the point in the video where they're talking about skins and monetization and other system updates, the real meat and potatoes for me. So the first big improvement is skin compatibility across all attachments. So currently, right now, skins only apply to specific attachments. So in the future, any attachment added to a weapon will automatically match the skin's appearance. This kind of feels like a duh moment, but alas, here we are. And then the quote of the video. Secondly, we recognize that the current monetization system feels fragmented. Let's get into it. Moving forward, they say they're going to merge things like the case, the keychain, all of the subscription stuff into the entire membership bundle. So if you buy a subscription to the game, it's not like you have to buy the subscription to get this, you have to buy the case to get this, you have to do this. They're just merging it under one banner. Yeah. And then they address the gacha mechanics, the loot boxes for their like event bundles and stuff like that. And they address it outright. They say many players prefer direct purchase options. That personally is where I'm at when it comes to cosmetics. If I like your game and I want to spend money, don't make me jump through hoops. Delta Force kind of does the same thing with their operations. It's not necessarily a gacha mechanic, but there's a bunch of like different currencies and you got to get mantle bricks and you can get keys to get the mantle bricks to get the skins. Just let me buy shit. If I want to spend money, just let me just buy shit, and then I can do that. Now, the one thing that I didn't like here is the fact that they say, hey, we've heard the feedback on the gacha mechanics. We also understand that players like direct purchase options. We're going to be working towards including those in a future update. But then they don't address the gacha mechanics at all. Like, the loot box system in Arena Breakout Infinite is fucking terrible. If you want to buy this task force skin that you're seeing on screen here, I went in, I came back, I was like, I'm feeling good, I want to spend some money, let me buy this. Hey, I like this is very cool, tactical skin. I want to support stuff like that. It's not a fucking unicorn skin. I want to buy this. Well, you can't. You have to buy tickets to then open a chance to get one of these skins, and then you roll it. There's a 20% chance you're gonna get the spray, and chances are you're gonna get that spray first. Oh fuck. Okay, let me spend some more money on gold. Okay, let me buy the tickets with the gold, and then okay. Oh, now I got the other. Okay, I got a weapon charm. Okay, but I want the cosmetic. So now you have to buy more. Fuck off. So I think the way it was worded is that we're not getting rid of those gacha mechanics, but you're going to be able to purchase skins directly in game. My guess is what's going to happen. And I really hope this isn't the case, but like the cynical, jaded old man side of me is just like, yeah, they're just going to keep fucking us like this. What's going to happen is all of the really, really cool skins are going to be in this gacha loot box mechanic shit. And then you're going to have other skins that you can purchase directly that might not be as cool, might not be as good, because they're not going to be making as much money from a direct skin purchase. Then like they're trying to like gotcha to get to spend a bunch of money, and then you can maybe get the higher tier items, the more rare items. Like, that's what's going to happen. At the end of the video, they get into the community Q&A. The first question was about the balancing to ammo, and they basically, somebody asked, like, you know, give us your thoughts on why you made a bunch of changes to the ammo balancing. And like they said, they want to balance different types of ammo. That's why the nerfs to the M61 rounds and some large caliber bullets are more noticeable. Like, I don't know what kind of question that is. Like, developers, why did you guys make a bunch of changes to the way that bullets work? And then the answer is, well, because we wanted to balance the way that ammo feels. Like, no fucking shit. What are we doing here? They also revealed that achievements and an honor system are already in their plans, and you're going to be seeing them soon. One of the questions, which I actually think is a really good one, and I think this was a developer question, like they basically said, like, we're just going to ask you some questions live on the spot. One of the questions was a carry-in limit for the lower tier maps, so like Farm and Valley. Don't bring in like thermals and higher tier gear to a map that's not going to give you the best return. All it's going to do is put you at risk of losing all of this expensive gear to a player with a Mosin Nagant who gets a headshot from a fucking tree 200 meters away. And I agree. I think one of the things they could have done to combat things like the thermals, instead of like nerfing them the way they did, is just to have them not be able to be brought into lower tier raids. You have the lockdown zone for a reason, which is a lot more higher tier loot. That's when you get into TV Station and all of these other maps. For normal mode, Farm and Valley, just have a carry-in limit. Say that, let's say you can't bring in more than $100,000 worth of gear. That would completely eliminate a whole bunch of these guys jumping in here with higher tier ammo, higher tier this, higher tier that, and actually let players that are lower end, kind of new to the game, experience it the way it should be experienced. And then better players who have played forever can go in, but you're not going to be at a huge advantage. I think there's value in at least having that conversation. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to balance, but I think there's merit in having that conversation. And then one of the questions, which I also think is kind of weird, like, what's your take on the meta feeling too formulaic on some maps and the spawn/extraction point balance issues? Even though we already addressed that earlier on in the video. And then the video ends with the executive producer basically saying, like, they're working to deliver a game that balances a hardcore realistic experience with rich quality of life features. And I think that's why this game appeals to me so fucking much. The one thing I wish they would just address and open up the fucking doors with is purchasing Cohen with real money. I will die on this fucking hill as long as I need to die on this hill for. I don't think it adds anything to the game when most players are already explaining it away as, well, you don't need to buy it, there's really no reason to. Then why does it exist? And I wish that they would address it and just remove it. Or if you're doing this membership thing, which I think is a more viable way to monetize this game, if you have a membership that gives you a bigger keychain for more keys to hold, a bigger secure container, which I think most players would be okay with if it was rolled in with other things. Imagine if you were a subscriber, and I'm just ripping, like, this is off script. But imagine if you're a subscriber, you have a membership and it's a monthly thing, and for every month that you're subscribed, you get a little bit of Cohen. You get maybe a couple of gear tickets, you get a secure container, you get this, you get that, while removing the option to just buy currency directly in-game, while removing options of the gacha loot box containers and just having purchasable cosmetics. You can do that and you can make a shit ton of money. And then combine that with going to Steam after making these changes. That's the move. And I wish these developers would just address the elephant in the room for a lot of players. It's not just me. There's a lot of people that believe this game is incredibly pay to win, so they will never touch it. And what I will say is, you can play this game and it is completely viable to never spend a dime. I'm doing it right now. I played yesterday. I went from, I think I had 1.9 million Cohen, the in-game currency. I did a bunch of raids. I'm up over 3 million. I doubled my currency in one day without spending a fucking dime. So like, my thing is like, the fact that the feature exists is what's driving a lot of players away, and the feature does nothing to the experience. So just get rid of it. That's my die on the hill moment for this game. I love where the game is going. I think that it's good that they do these like dev talks where they just, take questions, talk about it in a more open format like this. And I still think there is more to do, which I guess is the entire point of launching this game in this kind of open beta. I don't know if it's an open alpha, open beta state. And like for me, I think the game needs three things. It needs more content, which they've already shown us we're getting a shit ton of. The monetization strategy needs to change, which they've shown us that they're changing in some ways. They're willing to listen to the community in these things, which is a good sign. And we also need it to come to Steam, which I'm surprised that we're not hearing more about. I don't know what the situation is there. The rumor was that it was supposed to be coming to Steam on Season 1. That never happened. I think we're getting close to season 2. No mention of it at all. But maybe that's a good thing if they're going through all of these monetization changes and they really want to actually put the game in a much better state before they go to Steam, which in my opinion is going to open them up to a much larger audience, a lot more eyes on it, and maybe they just want it to be correct. That's cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing the reaction when that happens. And that's it for me, guys. My name is Big Fry. I appreciate y'all watching. 2025 is going to be a different year for us. Instead of me jumping around and covering a bunch of different games, I really want to hone in and focus on a core set of games that I'm actually fucking with, that I'm actually playing, that I'm actually wanting to make content on. Arena Breakout Infinite is that game for me, or at least is one of those games for me. And anytime there's an update or a dev talk or a Q&A or anything like that, I will be covering the news. And while I play the game more and learn more about it, we'll be able to talk more in depth about some of these features and mechanics, which I'm actually looking forward to. For the first time in a long time, I'm just like, fuck what people think, fuck what people say. Let's just play games I actually want to play and talk about. And maybe we can be an influence on maybe getting the developers to open their eyes and make some of the changes that we all want them to make, which I think is an overall net positive. This video is 22, almost 23 minutes long. I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. You have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on Arena Breakout Infinite, what you think they got going on in 2025. And while you're down there, leave a like on the video, do all the good stuff for the algorithm gods, and I'll see you on the next one.